Yo, what's up guys, Ghost here, and today I have a message for DICE from our little vehicle community here on the channel. I know a lot of you guys, like myself, are really into vehicular play, and that's probably one of the reasons that a lot of you guys were disappointed with Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5, like myself. It's been confirmed by DICE that the next Battlefield title is due to release towards the end of 2021, and I think I would be remiss if I didn't at least say my piece to DICE and tell them what I want, and hopefully what you guys want from the next Battlefield game. I know I voiced my opinions before in previous videos, and to be honest, I have no clue if any employee from DICE has ever watched one of my videos. But I figured I should at least try, so that if the next Battlefield game does turn out to be a load of rubbish, which I sincerely hope isn't the case, at least I can say I tried as much as I could to make our voices heard. Before we jump in, be sure to pop by our live stream sometime over at twitch.tv/ghostgaminggg. I stream a few times a week every week, and it's always a pleasure interacting and playing with you guys there, so I hope to see some of you soon. So, they still have a year of development time left, and with that in mind, I'm not sure if I'm too late with the sorts of points I'll be making in this video, but hopefully not everything will be finalised yet. Okay, firstly, let's touch on the obvious things. Let's be having another modern game, please. I think we all know that it's time. Most of us have had enough of World War I and II, but just don't base it completely in reality, so you've got a bit of creative freedom to work with, and you don't end up backing yourself into a corner the same way it kinda worked out with Battlefield 5. Obviously, an improved player count, bigger maps with even more objectives, and an even more realistic destruction system are great ways to move the franchise forward without it being quote-unquote just another Battlefield game. So with that said, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Vehicle animations, for me, you can get rid of them. We've all heard this many times. Realism and authenticity don't always mean funner gameplay. In my opinion, these animations that were added to Battlefield 1 removed an element of skill from the game. I know part of the reason they did this was to stop people popping in and out of tanks to ninja repair like a jack-in-the-box, or, bailing at the last second to launch an RPG before you get blown up. But this instant enter and exit mechanic that Battlefield 4 has is just one of many mechanics that we've all learned to play around with and use to our advantage. It's just one of the little things that sets more experienced players apart from the newer players. Apart from that, anytime the player loses complete control of their character, such as in these enter and exit animations, is never a good thing, in my opinion. You never want to feel like control is being taken away and like a death was completely the game's fault. Maybe they could just increase the blast radius of the lethal vehicle explosion to stop people running away from their tanks at the last second if that's their purpose, but whatever the way they do it, I don't think it should be by implementing vehicle animations. Now, where I would implement vehicle animations, however, is on things like plane crashes, and I'm going to quote a comment left by somebody in a recent video the other day. I don't have your name because I just copied the text down because I thought this was a brilliant idea. And what he said was, when I shoot down a jet that weighs several tons, I like to have more punch to it. In Battlefield 4, you down a jet, it bounces off the ground and blows up in an underwhelming puff of smoke and rubble that disappears after 10 seconds. Once a jet is disabled, there should be fuel leaking out of its engines, smoke billowing out behind it, and holes ripped through its body. When it impacts the ground, there should be a massive splash of dirt that gets kicked up and dissipates after some time. Now, this is an area where I would personally love to see some cool vehicle animations. When you crash, when you've already lost control of your character anyway, this is an area where they can work on realism and immersion. Next, I would like vehicle flight mechanics to be more challenging and a steeper learning curve, similar to the way they are in Battlefield 4. So the jets in Battlefield 3 and 4 are great. They have a totally arbitrary optimal turning speed of 313, which gives you the greatest advantage in a dogfight. But what's cool about this is that since the game simulates things like gravity on not only bullets, but also aircraft, is that it really is a skill you need to develop. When you nose down, you speed up faster due to gravity, and when you nose up, you begin to slow down. meaning that you have to actively use your throttle, brakes and afterburner to control your speed in different ways at any given angle to maintain that optimal speed of 313. At least that's the basic idea anyway. This system feels much akin to me to changing gears in a car, right? It's just something you learn and get used to doing in the background as you perform your different maneuvers in a dogfight or prepare to strafe an enemy ground target. Now, Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5 had drastically different flight mechanics. Now, obviously it does have to be said, we are dealing with planes in those games and not jets, but they went from essentially feeling like they were on rails in BF4 to being super floaty in BF5. The optimal turning speed is completely gone in Battlefield 5, in fact you don't even get a speedometer at all, and as far as I can tell, the best course of action to turn the fastest is to simply throttle all the way up. Then there's the fact that planes were just so tanky. I mean, you could literally be blasting the plane in front of you with good aim, tailing him halfway across the map, and you still wouldn't kill him. Oftentimes, he'd just get back to his resupply station and start to circle there, constantly resupplying his emergency repair and just spamming that over and over, either until you got fed up and left, or until one of his wingmates spawned and chased you off. Call me crazy, but to me, that just isn't fun, engaging gameplay. If an enemy jet lines up behind you in BF4 and he has good aim, you're just done for. Simple as that. Aiming isn't easy in Battlefield 4, but if you get good at it, the cannons on all of the jets are very effective, and therein lies the skill ceiling and the interest to play and improve. Which brings me to my next point. All the ground attack weapons in Battlefield 5 are significantly easier to use than in previous Battlefield games. High explosive rounds that just do a ton of splash damage, or bombs that you can drop in third person mode. You know, I've been that pilot who goes on a 100 kill streak in Battlefield 5, but it didn't feel fun because it was laughably easy compared to pulling off the same thing in Battlefield 4. But all I'm saying is, wherever there's a decision to be made on ease of use or high skill, you should always go with the highly skilled version, because that's what keeps people coming back to play again and again. You know, it's not battle passes, it's not microtransactions, it's not skins, it's self-improvement and seeing the fruits of your labour. Moving on to helicopters. We haven't seen those in a Battlefield game since Hardline, and I think their flight model was, in that game along with Battlefield 3 and 4, I think it was fine, but it would be nice to see it a little more normalised across all factions. Right now the US attack helicopter in Battlefield 4 is far superior to the others in terms of manoeuvrability, which doesn't really seem very fair at all. As for weapon selections, TV missiles, high skill weapon, excellent stuff. The tow missile, high skill weapon, again, lovely stuff. More of that please. Smart rockets and active radar missiles and passive radar missiles, not so much. Way too effective for how easy they are to use. They really needed a big nerf in BF4, but never got it. But if we do see something similar in the next game, it should be comparable in power to its ease of use, much like how the MBT Law is an auto-homing RPG, but it only hits for like 20 damage. So there's a trade-off there. So let's move on to tanks and ground armour. Now, I've never been a big tanker, but I didn't actually mind the tanks too much in Battlefield 5. But I will say that their range was a bit mental. You could really sit back in those things and snipe away without having to actually go for an objective. And the bigger problem in my eyes was the attrition system, the resupply stations where you could restock your tank shells and ammo and even fully repair your vehicle. These were designed to cause tanks to fall back once they'd spent their shells or needed to repair, but the reality was that it instead encouraged tankers to simply sit on the resupply station and snipe at enemies in the distance. I also really didn't like the attrition system when it comes to the planes either. Having to fly all the way back to base to reload your bombs for every single strafe was just a massive pain, and honestly made for very boring gameplay. In fact, this is the reason I didn't really bother streaming Battlefield 5 so much, because half of my gameplay was simply me flying back to the base to reload bombs and then going back in for a strafe. Now, for this next point, I'm going to reference something else from the amazing comments and ideas you guys have left me. So this guy says, make squad leader more than a useless role nobody wants to play and hot potatoes to someone else. The squad leader should be able to pull up his big map and mark not only flags, but coordinates on any given location on the map he deems important. There should also be a feature that lets them call for assistance or any friendly vehicles nearby, even if they're not in your squad, to provide support attacking or defending a coordinate. For example, the squad leader could decide to attack A flag to form a wall of objectives connecting A, B and C, so that it's easier to defend. He could then pull up his big map and click on the friendly jet on his team and request assistance. This tells the jet pilot to orbit that flag and cover the ground assets. The pilot would have an option to accept the request or deny it to prevent order spam. This here reminds me of something I've wanted to see in Battlefield for so long, the ability for commanders or squad leaders to call in an airstrike from the jet pilots on the game, mark targets of import, and just generally lead. So to sum up guys, honestly, the vehicle play in Battlefield 5 is a joke compared to Battlefield 4, it has to be said. It's really gone downhill. In my opinion, DICE need to stop comparing themselves to Call of Duty and copying whatever they do. Forget the battle royale nonsense, lose this casual mindset, and remember the fans who supported them tirelessly through the years, through thick and thin. Do that, and that alone will be enough to redeem the franchise. Right guys, I'll leave it there. The ball's in your court, DICE. Make this an absolute banger. Hope you enjoyed the vid guys, leave a like if you did, subscribe for more Battlefield content, and don't forget to comment down below on the points I mentioned here, and especially if there's something that you'd like to add. Have a good one guys, I'll see you next time.